Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tank of Servers podcast. My name is Jackson McCarty, as always joined by my co-host Chris Spar. And Chris, what are we doing today?
Superlatives again for like six?
QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line. Yep, six.
6 times now. This
There you
makes
go.
it. If you're not caught up, go and watch them, and then you'll know what we're doing, and then we won't have to explain it. But we're going to anyway. But this time we're doing defensive linemen, high school superlatives. It's funny. We like writing them. It's a grand old time. So
Gives us a chance to label prospects without having to, give you pro comps and stuff, and also get a laugh out of it while we're writing. And it's just a good time for us. But to kick us off, he said we are doing defensive line. That includes the edge rushing prospects. Might be a little bit of influx. There's a name on here that I think probably could have also gone into linebacker. But we're going to go ahead and label him as an edge rusher as well and stick him with the front four. First name I want to look at here, Kwity Paye. Topher, go ahead and tell us what superlative you got.
Kwity Paye is the most unique. We don't have a king because there isn't a clear leader for who the best defensive lineman is, edge rusher, the interior, otherwise. But Kwity Paye is a very unique prospect, and he's arguably the number one defensive lineman coming out of this draft at this point. But his crazy combination of strength and just disruptive speed, agility, and athleticism, it puts him at the top of the class. It's understandable how he got there. His production is outweighed by his athleticism, and it makes him just so desirable to have on your team because you look at him and you feel like you can just mold him into an absolute monster.
It's weird because he's really lucked out from Rousseau not coming back. This is the path that I assumed Rousseau would take, where it was all athleticism at first. It was just, oh my God, this guy is impressive. And then all of a sudden, we get into the back half of the year, and it's like, oh, okay, he's starting to put it together. It's like this production's finally starting to show out. We're starting to see what we can get from him, and he's taken a massive leap.
Yes, his tackles for loss really show him as more of a run-stopping edge, which I feel like is a pretty underrated factor when you look at edge rushers. You're always looking at them to get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
But you have guys like Brandon Graham who really thrived on stopping the running back when he's trying to break out to the edge, because Graham is one of those edges that can throw linemen.
Yeah, at this point, he's defied the natural edge position, if you will.
Yeah, he just doesn't get after the quarterback that much, but his run stopping grade is just ridiculous. He can throw linemen and get after him off the edge.
And like you were talking about this year, or actually we'll go ahead and talk about his junior year first. He had 12 and a half tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. He only played 4 games this year at Michigan, had 4 tackles for loss, 1 in every game, and 2 sacks. So
even with the lower production, he's still at the top of the class.
Yeah, on mark, he would have been in and around about the same number on both of those, which would have been nice. But yeah, he's kind of taken lineman 1 out of this. Next up, we have the man that he's probably taken over for, Gregory Rousseau, who we gave the biggest jock. Topher, go ahead and tell us why.
He's like a comic book villain, man. Look at it, just his size. He's 6'7", 165. He is scary to look at. It's like someone you picture Superman facing, like looking up at him, just muscly, he's the stuff of nightmares, and his size and strength's ridiculous. And when you tack on the fact that he had 15 and a half sacks, he's throwing people.
Yeah.
He can pick them up and be like, excuse me, I need to get through here, and throw the 300-pound lineman that was in his way. All he doesn't do is pick people up and jangle them so that the lunch money falls out of their pockets. It's insane, and I believe he had somewhere between 18 and 20 tackles for loss on top of the 15 and a half sacks.
I think it was like 18 and a half.
He is a straight-up bully on the edge.
He's terrifying, and the scariest part of him is most of his game is still raw. Like he's picking these dudes up with no form. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna run through you now. And I have a little note that I'd like to point out here because it has a kind of fun pun in there. He plays with a movie jog mean streak, just as you're used to seeing, and he bullies his way through the offensive line whenever he gets the chance. He plays like somebody that you're watching. And you're like, okay, he would be easy to dislike if he's a character because he's so dominant at what he does.
And there's a move that I love it when edge rushers do this. There's this thing that I've seen Khalil Mack do, and it was most noticeable for me because the Bears have to play the Vikings twice a year, and he always does this to Riley Reef. He has this arm bar that he holds his arm out stiff, locks it, and just pushes it out, and just drops offensive linemen. And I could just see if Rousseau ever channels that freaking strength into quality technique, that's a move I can 100% see him using.
I don't know what's more scary about Rousseau, his actual game tape, or the fact that we had him going to Cleveland and lining up across from Myles Garrett in our most recent mock draft, which, if you have not seen, go ahead and check that out. Literally the last video on this channel.
It's the previous one.
Yes, just go back one. If you're on the playlist, it's 32, I believe. It's a good time at least. But Topher, I want you to go ahead and introduce us to our next prospect.
Oh, and the prospect indeed, Joseph Asai.
Yes, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yes, that is the one, Joseph Asai, and we gave him a superlative that I think is very fitting, most unforgettable.
Yes,
and it is very fitting because no one will let us forget him, even though we don't fully understand why he's so high on the edge leaderboards. It is his off-ball skills are probably better than his edge rushing skills. So when you look at him as a linebacker prospect, I almost feel like he's up there with KFJ.
JOK. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
I don't know how I flipped that.
KFC?
Yes, KFC. He's up there with KFC, man. Finger looking good. Finger looking good off-ball skills. But when he lines up on the edge, I feel like he's almost less impressive of a prospect. So I don't know why he shot up the boards the way he did.
It's strange because he has that similar thing going on with Rousseau where it's like, okay, I can see the potential. He's a much better coverage guy than either one of these two are. The guys that we've mentioned so far, Rousseau and Pay. He has the potential to be a linebacker, playing more of a Kyle Van Noy role where he will rush or he can drop back if you need it. But it's just so weird because you can see more finesse moves whenever he's running than you do with Rousseau. You see more genuine, I don't want to say football knowledge because that makes it sound like I'm saying Rousseau is dumb, but it seems like he understands how to play both of those roles better. So it makes him weird to figure out because you don't know what he's going to be.
Lining up from a standing position for Osai gives him he looks more comfortable.
Yeah.
When he's in a 3 technique, he looks uncomfortable lining up on the line. If he's from a standing position, you can see him getting around the tackle, and he's much better at getting after the running back than the quarterback.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a natural defensive lineman. He looks like a standing edge.
He's not only he kind of reminds me a little bit of Boucher.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
But he is a much better off-ball player than Uche was. And he's just better. He seems like he's better at getting after the run. He seems like a very good weak side or strong side linebacker.
Almost like what they try to do with Zach Bond.
Yes.
He's very similar to we've seen him play some 3 technique and I was like, I don't like that. It's just like, take that off the tape.
He's just a better standing linebacker than he is.
Yeah.
Than he is an edge, like a true edge.
I'd say Osai, out of the 3 we've mentioned, we have 4 total edges on here before we go into our separate picks. But I would say those are the 3 that feel almost certain to go in the first. This next guy, I think, has first-round talent.
Yes,
but
he's going to be a steal.
If his track record can allow him to stay on the field, we've got Jaylen Phillips here, most likely to miss graduation.
Yes, he's going to be late because he needs to stay off that injured list.
Yes,
he's going to be late to graduation because unlike his classmates, he didn't sit out on purpose.
He had some playing time this year.
He played a little bit. He had decent numbers, but he needs to stay off that injured list.
Yes,
because his health record has not proven to be all that strong.
Well, it might be time to hit the panic button when you're looking at a guy potentially going in the first round that is already medically retired once. His time at UCLA was ended because of his concussion issues. And then obviously he ended up transferring and playing another year at Miami, but it's so worrisome. He's had like a moped incident that hurt him. It was odd. He's had multiple issues with his ankles, concussions galore. It's a real struggle for Phillips to stay healthy. And hopefully, look, here are his stats in Miami. Just this year, he had 8 sacks, 15 tackles for loss across 10 games. He's a wrecking ball. He has the talent to be the best edge in this class, but he is so banged up so often that you got to worry.
If you look at those stats, though, there's another one that really sticks out, and it's that in the previous 2 years, he's played just as many games as he played this year.
Yes, 6 and 4, respectively, from his freshman and sophomore year. Then after the transfer, got to play the full 10, which promising. Not...
Yes, a very promising 10 games that have him going in the first round. But with the health concerns, it's very easy to back off him, let him fall maybe third round. I would not put it out of the question that he goes third round, and really just winds up in a rotation role, honestly similar to that of Deion Jordan.
I would more comp him in this sense of where his stock is going to Jalen Smith. We saw him completely blow out his leg whenever he was at Notre Dame. He was a top 5, top 10 pick. Ends up falling to the very top of the second round. Dallas spent some time rehabilitating him, and now he's probably the best player on their defense. It's one of those situations where if you can handle it with kid gloves, you can make sure that he's staying safe and he's just rehabilitating and not in too much pressure to get hurt again. He could be the steal of this draft.
I wouldn't put it out of his question. He is a very impressive prospect.
Absolutely not.
He is crazy.
It's we'll go ahead and call that a quits for the edges. Let's focus on the D tackles now. Somebody I think you'll be able to relate to a little bit. Christian Barmore, who we have related as the loudest.
Yes, the loudest. He's
I'm sorry, I had to poke a little fun at you, buddy.
Listen, I'm not impressed with anyone anymore. So, well, maybe we'll get back to that at some point. But for now, yes, Barmore is absolutely the loudest. And when we say the loudest, we mean that he winning with Alabama. Mm-hmm. He is in everyone's face.
Yes.
Because no one's going to let you forget that Barmore was on that team. And yes, he had a solid season. 8 sacks, very impressive for any interior defensive lineman. I mean, look at Aaron Donald. He's a game wrecker, but one of the biggest things that people like to point out is that he is a pass rushing defensive tackle. Yeah. So when you have a D tackle that's getting 8 sacks in a season, it's like, whoa. The reason Aaron Donald is so prolific is that he's getting over 10 regularly. Oh. So, when you see a D tackle that's getting 8 sacks, it's crazy. But at this point, he insists upon himself. And when I say he insists upon himself, I'm saying that he had such a good season this year, combined with Alabama winning, that no one's going to let you forget that he had such a good season this year and that Alabama won. So it's just this never-ending cycle of people saying, hey, Barmore's good because he's on Alabama and had 8 sacks. It's
and they make a lot of really good cool D tackles.
Yeah, they do produce D tackles like it's their job.
One thing I'd like to compare Barmore's stock to, it's like if you're riding in the car, just going down the road, a couple of buddies, and there's a pretty decent song playing on in the background, and it takes somebody in the back seat let's call it 30 seconds before they realize that it's on, and they just kind of reach up and crank the volume up as loud as it goes. That friend in the back seat, we'll call it the college football playoffs, because that's exactly what it did for his stock. He took over. He completely took over the defensive tackle class from that.
Because I'm free.
Exactly. And then just not too much more, because we will get demonetized. Not that we make any money off this yet anyways, but it's
free ball.
Oh, God bless. He absolutely took over the D tackle class. The next man that we have on here is who he stole it from. And now he looks like another line in the Alabama factory that will be the top defensive tackle taken off the board.
At a Sean Robinson,
Quinnen Williams, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. Half of them play for Washington. we really like Alabama.
Remember Ryan Anderson?
Yeah, he's still on our roster. Of course I remember Ryan
Wait,
Anderson.
seriously?
Yeah, he backs up Chase.
Oh, I thought he was gone.
He's a free agent this year. He probably will be, but
Yeah, I don't see any reason that he gets re-signed. But let's get back on track since I'm the one that derailed us.
back on track to the defensive tackle 2 at this point in the class, Tufele, who we have labeled as most patriotic.
Yes, most patriotic. Why? Because if he doesn't wind up on the Patriots, I'm not sure what Bill Belichick will do with himself. We said it last year. We had a player that we called the most Bill Belichick player ever.
Yes.
I forgot his name.
Zach Bond.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. It was Zach Bond because we comped him to Kyle Van Noy every week.
Oh, we had someone else. I think it was.
There was it was
Taylor,
a D tackle. It's a D tackle. I don't remember who it was though.
Yeah, it's not that important. Doesn't matter. Tufele is so Bill Belichick. He fits everything that he wants in an interior defensive lineman. He can run stop. He can get after the quarterback. He's not as crazy athletic as some of the other players that are available. I'd say even Chris Barmore is a superior athlete to Tufele. But Tufele has just this pancake type of like rush style. He's the definition of a bull rusher. He just tries to push you into the quarterback if you're an offensive lineman. And it's just something I love to see.
Yeah, I'm sure he absolutely loves his country or whatever, but it has nothing to do with his nationality. It is strictly because he is so Belichickian, if that's a word. If it's not, we made it.
Belichickian.
Yes, he's a Belichickian defensive. Yeah, start putting it on shirts.
Just get that trademark. So Belichick.
That's so Belichick, and in the That's So Raven font. Just, I'm sure if we made merch, it would be such an interesting, weird.
I'd want so much to do with it.
God, because we would have EFS, we would have That's So Belichick now.
That's so Belichick. EFS.
EFS syndrome.
So, he's a tackle suffering from EFS.
Well, okay, so I managed to pull. That one is my fault. That one I'll take credit for. Of all the times that we get off topic, that is mine.
You can't bring that one up in front of me and expect me to just let it go.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, full credit on that one. Tufele, most patriotic. And now we move on to the pick section. Topher, I want you to go ahead and do your pick first.
I'll take care of that. Okay. So my pick is Quincy Roche, and he is the most forgettable. We had Joseph Osai, who people won't let us forget. And then we have Quincy Roche, who people are desperately hoping everyone forgets. Because despite being one of, like, probably the top 5 edge rushers in the class, maybe a month ago, he has fallen from the graces and now is somewhere between, like, 70 and 100 on the top 100 players ranking.
Yeah, something a weird spot.
Ridiculous. It's like no one likes him anymore. He was so good. He looked amazing. But Rousseau leaves. He has an off year. And now he's like one of the most hated men in the draft class. It's so upsetting.
Yeah.
Couldn't hack it.
Jaylen Phillips came in and really overshadowed him.
Well, Jaylen Phillips came in off of his 9 concussions and moped accident. And, he dropped 8 sacks in 10 games. And we have someone here who's a skilled freaking finesse technician, loves this one.
Yes.
And he's a great, gifted athlete who has fallen from the graces. I said it before, I said it again. He is so forgettable at this point. I won't forget him, though.
He's fallen.
Because I hope that he winds up on a team that can fully appreciate how freaking good he is. I don't know. I love finesse rushers, man. He's
fallen into that weird grouping of like Jason Away, Hamilcar Rashid, Carlos Basham. It's just like
he's gonna get lost in the shuffle.
Aziz Ojulari. It's like, am I really gonna get too picky about which one of these guys I get?
It's such a good name. I'd want Quincy.
Well, yeah, but that's
I think
what I'm saying.
Out of all of them, one of the true like guys who has his own identity is Quincy Roche. Quincy Roche truly has an identity as a skilled finesse rusher, where Hamilcar is this weird mix of someone who doesn't know if he wants to be a power rusher or a finesse rusher, but really understands how to throw guards away and, steal plays from his fellow teammates on run stops.
Yeah, I've been a Carlos Basham guy since the started. I don't remember who I comped him to in our personal big file. Unholy amounts of tape is what we call it, of where like whenever we do scouting reports or whatever, we'll put it in that document. And I comped him to somebody that was actually quite a compliment, but I don't remember who.
I don't know who I'd comp Roche to, because what he does is he describes a player's abilities, techniques, and all that. He describes that to me, and then I give him my pro comp for it.
Yes.
I don't know who I'd comp Roche to if he did it to me. If I haven't done it already,
You have not.
surprised.
Maybe
But
I'll throw that one in soon.
from my personal watching, I think that he's very Jason Pierre-Paul.
I could see that.
Maybe not the same size.
No, it's a bit of a smaller version.
JPP is 6'5", like 270.
Probably 250 something now with a couple less fingers. But sorry, I apologize.
He was just massive when he was on the Giants.
JPP, I would like to formally apologize for that one. I will. That is my bad. But
so incredibly rude.
I'm going to go ahead and steal your thunder now. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to my personal pick, Marvin Wilson, who I've tagged the biggest mystery. He came in as one of the top defensive tackle players, maybe in college football, a couple of years ago, and then gets injured. He had that leg injury, and he hasn't quite looked like the same athlete, but the potential is still so present. Like, whenever you watch his game, you can tell that he could be a force of nature in both the run and pass. He dominates like no other in certain scenarios. Whenever he can unlock that, I've comped his ceiling as high as DeForest Buckner. Because, like, maybe not the exact same play style, but they could share similar roles where you can send them out there on any given set, and you're like, I trust him to get this job done.
Well, that is very, very high praise
Yes.
for a guy who he's your pick. He's your personal pick.
Yes.
You didn't even make it onto the list.
No.
But I can see it. He's a monster athlete. He's a bully ball type of player.
Yes.
He's like Rousseau on the inside sometimes, except he actually looks like he fully comprehends
He has a bit more technique to him.
how to use his hands when he's playing football rather than just going, move!
Yeah.
Although he totally could if he wanted to. Marvin Wilson is a tremendous athlete.
Yes.
Just a tremendous person. He's just a great player.
It's just unfortunate with the injury. It's hard to determine if he's going to find that solid ground and if he's going to get close to his ceiling.
I'd love to see him do that in the NFL, because he almost looks nervous to really go all out.
To get back on it, yeah.
Which is understandable. I've seen people with injuries. I've witnessed it firsthand. My brother suffered an injury to his shoulder, and for a while he was just scared to even get back on the field.
Yeah,
He was a lacrosse player, so it was big. It's kind of a massive part of the game. It's like hurting your shoulder when you're a right-handed pitcher.
Yeah.
But yeah, like once you get back into it, I would love to see him find that groove.
Yeah, he did come across as a bit more timid, but he is labeled as our biggest mystery, and only time will tell how that unfolds. But for now, that has been our D-line superlatives. Our next episode will not be another superlative. We're going to kind of space them out a bit more. Next, we'll be talking a little bit about the Senior Bowl, which is on Saturday.
It's exciting. I'm really looking forward to seing Captain Mohawk in action.
Captain Mohawk will be there.
He's going to be in the Senior Bowl. I'm very excited to watch him play. We're going to be taking notes. That's going to be our whole next episode.
Yeah, we're gonna break down.
Boom.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about after the fact who we like, who we don't, some guys that were rising, falling, big notes to take away. A lot of we could become Ian Book guys after it, because he's currently competing with Sam Ehlinger and Felipe Franks for his starting gig.
Wait, what?
Yeah, on I believe it's the national side. The three quarterbacks on the roster are Ehlinger, Ian Book, Felipe Franks.
Oh, I'm so excited to watch Felipe Franks.
Hold on, I'm about to pull up the other side. The other side is like Mac Jones. There's a couple other ones. It's like guys that I was actually genuinely interested in.
What's going on? That's not even fair.
No, yeah, it really
What
wasn't.
is Mac Jones doing up against Ian Book and Felipe Franks and Sam Ehlinger?
Kyle Trask pulled out of it, which
Yeah,
I think
Kyle Trask.
that caused the issue.
Well, yeah, because at least Trask and Mac Jones, like, they're competing on the same podium. Felipe Franks looks like he's playing a different sport than Mac Jones.
Okay,
No
yeah.
offense, Felipe Franks, but
Listen to this roster: Mac Jones, Jamie Newman, Kellen Mond. Yeah,
Jamie Newman.
and Kellen Mond. Mac, we know who he is. We know a lot about him. But Jamin Newman and Kellen Mond will be in action. Newman for the first time in 12,
Looking forward to watching
13
Trey
months.
McKitty too.
Trey McKitty. That'll be a good one.
Larry Roundtree's competing too.
Kylan Granson, that's the guy we were just talking about off camera. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming for the Senior Bowl. Can't wait to inform you. But for now, I'm Jackson McCarty.
And I'm Chris Barr. I haven't said that more.
I know. We'll see you guys next time.
Please show